Welcome back to the Geekcentric podcast, and welcome to our watch club for Star Wars The Bad Batch. Turn down that alleyway. We'll be trapped at a choke point. You're going to have to trust me. What's up, Senators, and welcome back to Watch Club. My name is CT0831, but you can call me Hugs, and this is our Watch Club for Star Wars The Bad Batch, Episode 10, titled Common Ground. If you're joining us for the first time, this is Watch Club, our weekly review series, kind of like a book club, but way better. Keep in mind, we will be going into full spoilers for this series and Star Wars in general, so if you haven't watched this week's episode yet, be sure to do so, and then come right back in less than 12 parsecs. Now, before we all get rescued by a bunch of defected clones, let me introduce you to our experimental crew of ragtag troopers. First up, he's taller than a Jawa, smaller than Jababa, and just as entertaining as Jar Jar, he's CT1231, also known as Edit.
Do we have to talk about this episode?
I know. I think did I just say Jababa?
Jababa.
You did say Jababa.
That's awesome. And rounding out our small battalion, we have the dopest, dankest dude on Dagobah, CT1006, but you can call him Joints.
Yeah, I don't have much to say.
I think that is the common ground of this episode, is that
That's the common. Well, I was going to say Joints. I mean, I don't normally partake, but I might have needed one to get through this episode. How are you dudes doing this week? How's it going?
Good, man.
You guys doing good?
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got a pretty conventional, maybe even less conventional episode in some ways. Maybe you guys feel the same way, but before we challenge the entire criminal community of Old Mantell to a game of Dejaric, let's get your high-level thoughts on this episode. Joints, why don't you start us off?
Kind of almost a letdown after the last two bangers of episodes. So, I mean, kind of expected it to be a bit slower. They did just do a big, mid-season reveal, but yeah, it was a bit slower. I mean, it kind of just reiterated things we already knew, and nothing new really came to mind from it, basically.
Yeah. Justin, how about yourself?
Yeah, no, after the banger episodes that we've had and what looked like in the last few episodes, momentum to...
We talked about the snowball.
Yeah.
What happened to the snowball?
Oh, man, this thing didn't just slow down. It, full on braked. It
went backwards in a way.
Oh, yeah.
Smacked into the side of a boulder and stopped the tire.
And it just pedaled. And it was just... I don't know, this is my least favorite episode from this season. It could be one of those things like we were talking about for Loki episode 3 of the season, where it could have implications to something more. I think I'll wait to discuss, but I think that this whole theory of could it have a larger impact, and it'll be interesting to see. You guys could probably shoot it down. So we'll see.
All right. Well, I'm interested to see. For me, I mean, I'll say this: there were some cool visual callbacks to a previous Star Wars series that I'll touch upon a little bit later on, and that really worked for me. Getting to see Clone Force 99 do what they do best, and it was, I guess, it was somewhat interesting to see what happened to the Outer Rim planets during the Imperial occupation, and how that all went down. But this side storyline didn't do anything for me, really. And really, honestly, neither did the character they introduced. And even though he's voiced by Star Trek alum Alexander Siddig, Dr. Bashir from Star Trek Deep Space Nine, I don't know if it was his delivery was great. I just think the writing wasn't that compelling in terms of what he did for this episode or
for the whole episode.
For the overall story.
I think that goes for the whole episode, though, right? It's not just necessarily the writing for his character, but I agree with you,
sure.
Nate. His character wasn't necessarily as impactful, but it just kind of showed the sort of resistance, if you will, to the Imperial Order.
In our latest episode of our Loki Watch Club, we talked about the fact that it's so cool how, and I won't spoil anything because who knows if people are watching that series while watching this one, probably are, but it's so cool to see how Marvel can sort of take they can pick from so many different characters to bring up into the MCU, especially with the idea of multiverses. And just with Star Wars, it's just it's cool to bring in new characters, but make them memorable. Make them someone I want to see come back, or pick from the 900 billion characters you have that you could have brought in this instance to make it a little bit more special. I don't know. Let's get into this, guys. Let's get into this. This episode opens on Raxus, an Outer Rim planet, as Imperial Captain Bragg speaks before a wary crowd in the capital city. She introduces Senator Avi Singh, who reluctantly begins to justify the Imperial occupation to his constituents. When he stops, switching his stance to calling the occupation unjust, he's dragged away from armed troopers. Then he kind of tells his droid to call someone or call for help or something. And then just as people start to rise up, armed troopers and walking tanks move in to quell the crowd below. So what did you guys think of seeing Raxus and the Separatist colonies sort of immediately, rejecting the Imperial rule? Justin? Well,
I think we've been to this planet before in Clone Wars, have we not? I feel like, and I remember it from Clone Wars as being very... I guess British inspired, and this kind of felt very similar to that. No, well, it did, because I remember there was a conversation that happens in like their Senate, or and it felt very traditional to how you would see in sort of the in England, right? With how
am I confusing it with, like, is this where Ahsoka had sort of that fling or that romance?
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah,
and then he was kind of used as a puppet by Dooku before finding that Dooku killed his mom. Yeah.
Right. So the importance of this planet in sort of the, in the Clone Wars conquest and now in the Imperial conquest, it obviously is elevated. I personally like the vibe that I got is very colonial too. Like, it looks very colonial, and even the look of the senator felt very of a colonial period of time. And my dad was born and raised in India, and during that time when he was born, it was very colonial. So I've seen a lot of photos of like this sort of hybrid culture of English and Indian, and
the mustache.
Yeah, well, sure, but even like the senators, he had a very obvious cultural representation applied to him, and I think they did a good job, at least with that, just trying to show more cultures within this galaxy. That being said, to see everyone rebel, I think this is just going to show the first sort of instance of people not necessarily accepting the Imperial Order, right?
For sure.
I remember that another time we saw Raxus was in the books, actually. In Dark Disciple, we see Quinlan Vos and Asajj Ventress go there to try and assassinate Dooku. So, in both the stories, or all instances we've seen it, it seems like the planet has never really taken the foreground of it. It's always just been the setting for a conflict or a plot point to happen. So, I mean, seeing it again, not same thing. Something just happened on the planet, and it wasn't, again, calling up to say it's unique in any way. I mean, I do agree that it does have a very colonial look to it, but I feel like we've seen that on other planets already,
100%,
like Rebel series and stuff like that. It was nothing interesting about the planet itself. I thought it was interesting, though, the fact that we're kind of getting the idea that the Separatists are kind of being painted as, victims as well in this. They were kind of duped by the Empire, and now he's strong-arming his way into controlling their planets and stuff like that. So I think it's interesting to see that spin, and how, of course, Clone Force 99 reacted to having to go there and help him out, because it seemed like they were very against it because they still think of the Separatists as their enemies.
Right. Yeah. But I mean, it's almost perfect that it was the Bad Batch that had to kind of come in and do this. They are maybe the perfect people to bring into this specific conflict.
Well, yeah, even Hunter said, he's like, I always imagined going to Raxus, just not like this. Like, he knew that their fight would be taken to that point, to that planet at some point. But again, this isn't the fight he thought he would be fighting at the time.
For sure. Mm-hmm. All right, well, let's get back into it here. Back on Ord Mantell, the Bad Batch get their next mission from Sid to rescue Avi Singh from Raxus. Being former Republic troopers, as you were just saying, Clone Force 99 isn't thrilled about working for and rescuing a Separatist senator. But Sid reminds them that they have a debt to pay her, so they should just go through with it. Likewise, Hunter doesn't want to bring Omega to a planet swarming with Imperials. He tells the others she needs a break and orders her to remain with Sid on Ord Mantell. Not surprisingly, Omega is upset by being left behind, telling Sid it's unfair that she couldn't go on the mission and arguing that she's not helpless. When the Bad Batch land on Raxus, they learn their client is the Senator's droid, GS-8, working with a droid GS-8, working with a droid and on a mission to help a Separatist Senator, has the group a bit grumpy. But through a series of sly maneuvers, Tech tapping into the Senator's home security system, which is Tech's signature move, and stunning a bunch of white armored troopers, and as well as the Imperial captain, the Bad Batch manages to free Senator Singh. In a brief but touching moment, Hunter forgets that Omega is not with them on the mission as he and Tech work to stun the troopers guarding Singh. And it wouldn't be a proper Bad Batch mission without some well-placed explosives and the commandeering of an armored walker. I almost said wrecker. There's never a quiet escape with this group. So after fighting off multiple armored tanks and, wrecker throwing stunned troopers out of the door of their own walker, the Bad Batch is led to a dead end by Senator Singh. Tech questions the Senator's directions, and Singh says, "You'll have to learn to trust me." They do, and at the dead end, luckily, there's a hidden passageway that leads them safely out of the city. When they make it back to the Marauder, the Senator stops and questions his decisions to leave the planet while his people are still suffering. He says, "I cannot abandon my people. I must help them." His droid, GS-8, replies, "You will, Senator, but not if you're in Imperial custody." Echo, who's been the most vocal with his displeasure about working with a Separatist, agrees with the droid. She's right. Live to fight another day. So, what did you guys think of the action throughout these moments and the Senator's decision to leave? Do you think he's really off to join the Republic?
I thought, first off, all the action scenes and the combat in this episode were again really visually stunning. I found myself forgetting that I'm watching an animated show at some points just because of the detail they've put into the stuff. So I thought that's really cool to see how far the animations come from, again, looking back at the first season of Clone Wars, where it's very clearly an animation, whereas this, again, feels more grounded in real life. I also thought it was very interesting. We got to see what two ATTEs look like when they're about to mate and make a new little baby ATTE.
It did look like that, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, 100%. Also, that whole combat just kind of reiterated the fact that Clone Force 99 is better than all the other clones in the army. So, that's where I was like, oh, they're doing what they do best, but I kind of expected them to do that. There was no really stakes to the mission because you kind of knew they were going to pull it off.
For
and
sure.
They were just fighting a bunch of lesser clones in the Empire.
Yeah,
Not much there.
It didn't seem that harrowing, but I mean, the action, just like you said, that was the highlight for me in the episode, and I think it is for anyone who watches this episode. I wanted to call out, a lot of the segments reminded me so much of Star Wars Clone Wars, the Genndy Tartakovsky animated series from 2003. There were sections of the episodes with very little dialogue, and usually with Clone Force 99, you get all that banter, but it was kind of refreshing, actually, after seeing them.
Something more visually oriented, right?
Yeah, it was a little more visual, right? And I got those vibes of, sort of, I felt a little nostalgic seeing these troopers, these incredibly trained troopers, without any of the banter, and it gave me those vibes of that series.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, they really functioned without really communicating to each other. They just kind of knew where they needed to be in order to get the job done.
It was cool.
Yeah. I agree. It's the highlight of this otherwise lackluster episode. So, they did a good job with it, but, I really don't know what they were trying to prove with all of this. So I have,
We'll get there. We'll get there. I mean, I also wanted to just mention, another episode without Omega, or without them together. I mean, literally, she's literally sidelined in this episode, and I was disappointed that we weren't going to be getting much more interaction between her and the, her 4 trooper dads. But I will say the one thing that got me though was, when Hunter turns around to Tech and he's like, Omega, you go this way or whatever, or you get Omega to do this or whatever. I just thought it's kind of cute to see how much he's gotten used to having her around on missions, exactly. So he realizes his mistake.
Well, that's the significance of that moment, and I think that if you're gonna take away something from it, there's that, right? And there's also obviously the rebelling against the Galactic Empire. So there's that, and there's these two elements here. So it's if there's anything to take away from this episode. Yeah,
going off of whether the Senator Avi Singh is going to join the Empire rebellion or not, who knows who his contacts through Sid are, I don't know where that's going. I almost feel like that's just a his character was more just for the Bad Batch to realize that the Separatists also had no choice in what happened, type thing, kind of pinning them as the victim. Like that, I feel like that was the only point of his character in this episode, was to paint the Separatists as the victims as well,
and to understand, understand that the real enemy is the Empire, and what they stood for. They stood for the enemy, actually, in actuality, right? So,
but I mean, it shouldn't take 3 geeks on a podcast for that to be apparent from an episode like this, right? Like, it should really, that should have stood out a lot more. So I hear what you're saying, but let's keep going here. When they get back to Ord Mantell, they walk into Sid's and they see a crowd of people cheering at the players at the holochess table. One person shouts, "No one can stop this kid." It turns out, while her dads were gone, Omega showed off her strategy skills at the holochess table, giving her something to do that also contributed to the Bad Batch's overall mission of paying their debts. Sid tells Hunter she's a natural and that Omega made enough money to pay back their debt. Hunter, still a little grumpy, reminds Omega he told her to keep a low profile. "I wanted to be useful, even if I couldn't go on the mission," she says. And then he kind of follows up and realizes, like, he shouldn't be that harsh on her because of what she's just done. And he says, "Well, how about we put those strategy skills to the test?" Pulling up a chair to face Omega in holochess. The episode ends before their game is over, but it's probably safe to assume that Omega won't be sitting out any more missions in the near future. So guys, now that the debt is owed, that was owed to Sid, is paid off, do you think that we'll see more of her? And guys, is it just me, or would you rather have spent the time in this episode following Omega's rise to holochess infamy?
Yeah.
Right?
That would have been a far better episode. That's what I was thinking.
Oh, as a side episode?
Yeah.
Come on.
As a filler episode, that would have been like perfect. It doesn't have as much of a purpose, but it's still impactful. And I would have loved to have seen Sid more and Sid interacting with Omega more. Like, I think that's a total missed opportunity.
The fact that Sid's calling Omega her friend now, it's like, yes, she won her a lot of money, but I feel like a lot more happened than just winning the money type thing.
Yeah.
Like, and the thing is like, it almost feels like with Sid's debt being paid off, like we're not going to see her again. And I really enjoy hearing Rhea Perlman's voice in the series. I'm enjoying that character.
I don't think she's gone.
Well, she better not, because she deserves a better last episode than this. And I think seeing Omega in like her own version of like the Queen's Gambit could have been like a really cool episode with Sid like coming in and being like her coach, and like they could have played it up for like a really good gag and laugh.
100%.
And it just seems like a missed opportunity.
Also the fact that that the Weequay and the Ithorian clearly knew what to, like, that Sid kind of stepped over the line saying she was useless and stuff like that. Like, it would have been cool to see Sid learn from those two random bar patrons how to react and treat a little kid type thing.
Right.
Again, missed opportunity. It would have been really fun.
Yep.
But
and that would have been
that
would have been the right way to step away from the main story, something that's completely non-relevant and just different, and it focuses on character.
Right, and it still achieves what that sets up for Omega as a character and what it does for the debt. Like, it just, we should be writing this.
The camera went the wrong way on that one, for sure.
Yeah, well, for sure.
So, like, here's my thing. I know we're wrapping up here and with the end of this episode, and like I said, the takeaways for me, at least from it, that could have larger implications is someone in authority rebelling against the Galactic Empire. We see that, Omega is a part of the team with the fact that, Hunter was looking for her. I'm wondering also, too, if they've just painted a massive target on their back because they've infiltrated the planet and kidnapped the senator and got him off planet.
It's a big deal.
Right, so that's pretty big. So, but even to end with something where it got back to the Empire, or someone was there and knew that they were coming and tagged their ship, like something that could have left us with something to chew on a little bit more, rather than what I feel like I'm doing is trying to create justification for this episode, right? I'm also wondering if what they're subtly implying is that, Clone Force 99 and the Bad Batch are huge contributors to the start of the rebellion, right? Like, I'm wondering if that's kind of where we're heading. Again, I'm stretching it based on this episode, but why would you do an episode like this if it wasn't necessary to plant something? Or if it was literally how we think it is, and it's just nothing. It's literally meant to just be nothing and just a side mission. If that's the case, then I would have much rather followed Omega and Sid and seen that.
Yeah, totally. All right. Well, listen, let's wrap up here. Wrapping up on the plot. I mean, we've kind of already shared our overall thoughts, but I want to know your overall thoughts and your final score for this episode, which for this episode, we're going to be rating on a scale of 1 to 5 antique vases. So that tells you what the episode went. Justin, let's start with you, my friend.
Yeah, well, I guess just kind of jumping off of what I was saying before, this episode was, I think, a missed opportunity and very weak. And to your point, Nate, if we have to sit here to try to figure out and pull out, what this episode means for the larger story, then I don't know if it was really necessary. I think a huge, missed opportunity is not focusing on Omega's story and that sort of bond that she gets with Sid, becoming, the Queen's Gambit, right? That would have been sick. I love it.
Right?
I was thinking
by
the entire time.
Imagine she walks by 19 hollow chess tables playing all these different people at once.
Sid's like, this kid's incredible.
He's so cool.
But yeah, anyways, for that reason, I am going to say that this is my least favorite episode of the series. Not really leaving me with too much mystery or questions or anything like that, other than me making stuff up. So I'm going to give this one a 2 out of 5 antique vases.
Yeah. Okay. How about yourself, Joyce?
I'm kind of sitting on the same boat as Justin. It was very lackluster in overall, story writing and stuff like that. It was nothing happened. There's no stakes to it. Again, missed opportunity with Omega. We talked about that enough that I feel like we could have enjoyed that episode a lot more. Yeah. Just based on what we set off right there. Again, the only reason why I'm giving the score I am is probably because the action scenes, again, it really, the animation really blew me away. I probably have to deduct some points too, because I now understand Dejarik even less than I did before. Because as far as I can tell, there are no rules in that game. So just confused by that.
This could have been an episode to establish what Dejarik really is all about, right?
Another reason, another missed opportunity for Star Wars. A way to explain the game that no one understands. Yeah. So I'm probably going to go at 2.2 antique vases out of 5. Worst one of the series so far, and it was, again, the wrong direction to take after 2 epic episodes that we just had.
Yeah. It's, I would say the description for this episode on Disney Plus is very misleading. If the description is the batch has their ideology changed, that sounds like a much bigger thing than what we really, and I get it. Like they played with the ideology of them and separatists and what have you. Right. But still, it didn't land. I realized I actually wrote a question up earlier about if the senator was going to join the Republic, and I'll be honest with you, I didn't write an answer to that to my own question because I don't care. I really don't. Right. And that's how I felt throughout this episode. Unfortunately, I think the episode could have been much better with a more intriguing character, maybe worth saving. That has any sort of impact on the future of the series. What if it was Sid? It would be so cool if Sid was the one that they needed to save, and that's how they paid off their debt. There's a bunch of different ways that you could have taken it.
Yeah, or why did it have to be Sid that the droid reached out to? Why couldn't it have been someone like Rex, right? Or, let's bring in, if we're going to bring in a rebellion connection, why don't we bring in, Jimmy Smits? You know what I mean?
We got to get him in here somehow. I was hoping he'd be the last person she faces in holochess, man. But I also think, for this series, it might be best for them to take Hunter's advice and leave politics out of it. Focus more on the clone story and Omega. Earlier on, I think it would have made sense to explore these themes. But now that we've grown to really love these characters, and especially Omega with everything that's going on with the mystery behind her, it just seems like that should be the focus, especially with only 6 episodes left.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
Listen, in the long run, I really don't think this episode, like you're saying, Justin, it's not gonna matter. Other than establishing Omega as a master strategist, how they paid off their debt, and why she's always on every mission now. So for those reasons, I'm going to give this episode 2 antique vases out of 5. So, normally, you guys, you batches know I, more than anyone, enjoy when we can batch it up about what's going to happen next on this series. But with this episode not really giving us anything to batch about, we're gonna hold off, and I think we're gonna maybe see what episode 11 brings next week, and then we'll talk about what's gonna happen batch. But guys, that's it for the 10th episode of our Watch Club for Star Wars: The Bad Batch. We hope you enjoyed this week's episode of Watch Club, and if you did, make sure to subscribe to us wherever you like to listen to podcasts if you haven't already. And if you want to write into the show with your thoughts or predictions on the shows we cover in Watch Club, well, listen, you don't have to beat 100 ne'er-do-wells in holochess to pay off a huge amount of debt created by your insatiable appetite for Mantel Mix. Instead, Justin, can you let our listeners know how to reach us?
They can reach us at wearegeekcentric@gmail.com. That's wearegeekcentric@gmail.com.
Keep in mind, we have our other Watch Club happening right now for Marvel's Loki. Darcy, without any spoilers, did you get a chance to catch that 4th episode, and are you pumped?
Oh, heck yes. I literally was fist bumping in my seat, and as my mom and brother looked at me like a crazy person. So,
I mean, you are a crazy person, and I'm stoked that we have your craziness for our next episode of Watch Club for Loki.
Yeah.
You're going to join us for episode 5.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it. Can't wait to talk about whatever happens in that crazy show.
It's dude, this is going to be the episode to have you on, so I'm super stoked. We also have a ton of other episodes from our podcast covering the latest releases on Disney Plus out now, including our review of Marvel's Black Widow and our review for Disney's Monsters at Work. So go give those a listen and leave a 5-star review if you could, and let us know if you've been, what you've been enjoying about these watch clubs and what you'd like to see next. Justin, Darcy, thank you so much for joining me for this Watch Club. And as we say,
Good soldiers follow orders.